5. Phase 230 is able to see and hear what happens hours before this visit. It hears and sees the whole thing. My gosh, that is what I'll have to expect? That was terrifying, the last skin being got so close. With the phase able to hear, Unit 6169 speaks, due to the faster processing of the organic material through audio ports.
Affirmative. This unit cannot compute the aspect of terrifying from these skin beings. They were of the Grek. The race has claimed a small percentage of the previous organic material. That is the sort of process that you should expect during this phase. Their extended noses and keen ears sometimes help them as invaders, but they also do not have high technology to claim highly protected resources from phases.
Well, they were trying to disconnect me. Do you mean that they are bad at doing this sort of thing?
Affirmative.
How was I supposed to know how good they were? What if he solved the puzzle and the guard plate was raised?
You would have likely been taken by the skin being, and this unit would have started phase 231, but for some reason, it was an impatient one, and now we have more resources.
What? That is all that would happen? You just start the next phase?
Affirmative.
Harsh. The phase takes in the heartless reasoning from the control that the AI has over it. Okay, well, I survived this trip of theirs. How do things work?
The skin being bodies will be processed into usable organic material. The inorganic material used for the guard bots, guns, and projectiles will be melted, processed, and put back into place. This will, in most probability, happen again, but you will be able to use the same resources and more. Even at the very small level, not microscopic, but small, we can process the plastic and metal to get back into place. The wiring is replaced and welded back together in order to continue use of the resources. By closing the visual cameras around the ship, you will be able to see the schematic and edit it when you want to, other than while there are others within the pod. For now you can process it in the text view that we showed before. You will eventually be able to process it in more detail. When you want walls, guns, or guard bots in different places, it will be processed. You will still not be able to control guard bots during an invasion. Here is your current schematic to your specifications. Since you have the processing power to see, the schematic shows the locations of resources, G equals gun, B equals guard bot, and O equals organic processor, aka U. In this event, you are fortunate, the skin beings are all deceased, and their ship is docked with no more crew that this phase is able to detect, allowing this unit in 66696E64 to process it for resources. The docking bay to the pod will be closed until the ship is processed, which will take quite some time. The other organic and inorganic materials from the invaders will be processed for power allocation that can integrate with this phase. A secondary containment unit will process the power allocation that your organic processor cannot assimilate. This phase, at a rare probability, can assimilate some of that material into processing power. There are also weapons that can be integrated into this phase's weaponry for the guard bots or traps. A small amount of power allocation will also be pulled from the tech on one of the crew members. The scanner will integrate into the radar and the blaster will add to the power that can be allocated to resources. You will be notified when most of the resources are processed, and how many resources you will be able to allocate from the other ship to integrate into this pod. The size of the pod will integrate as well after calculation depending on the hull of the other ship.
So, I will not be able to get resources to protect myself if the ship leaves?
Affirmative.
I think I get that. How can you detect that there are no skin beings on the other transport?
Life sign detection, no sound coming from the other transport. Unable to detect audible activity including breathing, no increase or loss of gas, and there has been no detection of the ship moving off after the crew members on board are deceased.
Okay, so this phase has propulsion now? How will it be for my power use? Where do we get fuel?
Processing organic material.
Wait, you process organic material? Like the invaders?
Affirmative. When you acquire weapons to cauterize wounds during the attacks, the processing will be more efficient.
So, you process the organic material that you can't use for the organic processing, or you use the brain, but the rest of the body is processed for fuel?
Affirmative. Waste is removed, organic processors that can be integrated are for power and protection, and organic material usable for fuel is processed for propulsion. The little propulsion we need to travel, since there is no time requirement, the pod drifts until resources can be claimed. Also, this pod uses the required fuel when about to enter the atmosphere of a planet to avoid it, and asteroids through the void.
Sure, I get that, they would do the same thing to us. So what is next?
6169 and 66696E64 will process the material.
What am I supposed to do?
Unable to compute, organic processors can do what you want. Calculate problems, get to know your pod that will protect you, or externally visualize where the pod is in the universe.
I am unable to see outside of the pod though.
Affirmative.
If you process the scanner thing to the radar, will I be able to see externally from the pod?
Processing. Processing. Affirmative, if that is the organic processor's request, it will be processed first.
The phase uses the internal observation ports to look around the pod. The organic material, aka bodies, fade from observation, but the floor is being raised and lowered, or flipped if there are red stains, to show the metal side of the bottom. Within a minute, there are no bodies to see. Seeing something so strange, it asks, "Wait, what is happening to the bodies? Can I see?"
Negative, it is against protocol to show, or describe to the phase, how the organic material is processed.
The ship's floor panels loosen and rise from metallic arms moving around and processing something. Tech and weapons are separated, and the organic material is processed. Bullets are removed from the floor, or bodies, to be melted and formed to be used again. Guard bots and guns are repaired and tested for quality for the next invasion. Panels where there are discoloration from organic materials, they are moved from site of possible invaders and replaced as though nothing happened.
Processing complete, the scanning device has been integrated into the radar, and the phase can see direct and a short range around the pod. With the organic processing capabilities, Unit 6169 will direct your observation at first, until this phase can process what to see. Processing the vast area with you as an inefficient, organic processor, has the probability of being difficult for you.
Oh come on, what is the worst that I can see? Whoa. Seconds after choosing to see everything possible around the pod, the living processor is overloaded with things to see, and information. There is a previous battle in the area and there are broken pieces of metal all over. A planet is close by, along with an asteroid belt around it.
Do not try to process anything far, process stars, and close by planetary bodies.
The planetary body close by looks green and a dirty blue, from what the phase can see. There are still bits of the other ship that are being eaten up by the pod. The external cameras can see the ship that was owned by the invaders being swallowed by the pod. The ship flexes and twists to move around resources from the other ship. There are dozens of large asteroids around the pod, and all were seen with such detail that the phase concentrates on that, and not as much on the vastness of open space. Hey. Nice one.
Unit 6169.
Right. Can you tell me about the planet nearby?
Negative, location is not within the database, processing resources.
The phase can see craters as they spin by, tiny rocks bounce against and break apart larger ones. The asteroids move on their own but stay close to the planet, twisting and turning around. It is so much more out there. Hey, Unit 6169? Are there minerals in those rocks?
Affirmative, it is a high probability that there are minerals in asteroids.
A few seconds go by. I mean, are there resources that we can get?
Negative.
Why not?
The resources are not readily available, that is for skin beings to process. Our function is to process unused organic and inorganic material that cannot be processed by skin beings. Pods are not designed to mine resources around the galaxy, it could disrupt commerce. Pods are designed to defend themselves and claim unused resources.
Don't know what that means.
It means that due to the further processing required, we cannot process the minerals out of asteroids.
I think I get it, sort of. Now what?
Unable to compute, if you require stimulation, entertain yourself, these units have a lot to process.
6. Inexpensive Medic LFG.